Stories Podcast, your number one show for everything guitar.
Hello. Dan's taking a drink already. You've had your blue screen of death. Technical issues have started. They've finished, and no longer shall they begin. Episode 83. Welcome, everybody, to the show. If you're listening to the audio version, please be careful with what you're doing, because this show is going to be a banger. If you're with us live, then welcome. Speaking of welcome, hello, Dan.
Hello. Oh, no. This is the low show. So this will be a banger, a very low show.
Yeah, do the pretend voice, the masculine one that we've been practicing.
Okay, so episode 83. This is gonna be a low one. Extended. We're talking about extended range guitars and.
I get it.
Heavy stuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get it. Sorry,
you didn't get it.
Wasn't switched on. No. I've had a very strange day, Dan. A very strange day. Like, my day is normally wake up, have breakfast, send the kids to their places they need to go to learn things, and then do guitar stuff.
Okay.
But today, it started with pancakes, then I went ice skating, then I went and had some Asian food that was rather nondescript, then I had a donut that cost me €6, then we went to 2 different cemeteries, then I had goulash and cake at my girlfriend's mum's house. Then my daughter exploded the squirty cream everywhere, and it went absolutely over everybody and the walls.
Okay.
Then we came home, and the kids were so exhausted they cried, and then decided to do some colouring, and colouring fixed everything. Now they're in bed, and I'm down here freezing, talking to you. That is a very strange day. That's normally like a month of activity in a few hours.
Yeah. It sounds stressful. It sounds like a lot of fun, but also like a lot of stress.
I stressed myself out recalling it. Actually, I feel a bit stressed now. I feel I need a little calm down.
Yeah. Did you do some kind of Halloween activities with the kids?
Yeah. I like to put lights and music outside my house, and normally a smoke machine, but that broke this year. And really scare the children that come and ask. And actually, can I be grumpy and old man for a moment?
Please
do that, everybody.
Of course.
We had youths come, teenagers, youths, and they weren't in costume, and they asked if they could have some sweets, and that annoyed me.
So you mean they didn't even try it a little bit? No, not at all.
And I'm not. When I said that annoyed me, I don't think I actually got over the emotion that really annoyed me.
Did you tell them to get off your arm? Yeah.
No, of course I gave them the sweets. I'm not an a-hole, but 3 of them came. They had a beer in their hands. And they went, Susasaurus, have you got any sweets? I'm like, where's your costume, mate? Yeah, here you are. Have a little chew bar and get on your way.
That's sad.
Yeah. I'm so glad I got that out.
Whew. Yeah, fits much better.
I got that out before Andrew gets here, because I don't want to get grumpy when Andrew's here. That's not fair.
Yeah.
Andrew's a nice guy.
I was walking through Neustadt on Halloween night, and there were quite a few pretty cool installations with some beamer, like projectors, and some graphic installations, etc. So people really knocked out of the park, with some like flaming skulls kind of flying at you and etc. That was pretty cool. So, and I thought like Halloween night was pretty fitting because we had a lot of fog and everything, so it really was like a very, very special atmosphere, one of those nights where it's not necessarily cold, but it's also not too hot. And then you have that foggy, misty kind of atmosphere, and you can almost cut the air.
Yeah. My daughter was so excited. She went, "Look at this, Daddy." She presented the fog to me. It was amazing. Although I think a highlight of the night, just to sort of counteract my grumpiness, which I think I've recovered from, there was a very, very small boy dressed as Spider-Man who was like really scared, like super scared. And I'm quite tall, and I came down to his level. I said, "Hello, Spider-Man." Yeah. He said nothing. I went, "You're Spider-Man." Nothing. And I gave him some sweets, and then he walked away. I was really disappointed because I, worked hard. And then he walked away, and he looked back, and he went at me. did the Spider-Man web.
Oh, that's
It was amazing.
super cute. That is so cute.
It made my night. It made my night. You can't see me if you're listening to the audio version, but that was my Spider-Man web noise. 2 fingers.
Fantastic.
And you don't want to do that at a rock concert. That's wrong. You don't do.
Yeah.
Again, more than once. Right. Let's say hello to some people in the chat. Now I've got the grumpiness out. I feel invigorated. Thank you, everybody. Right. Hello to Sarang. Hello to Valeria. Hello, Idaho Turtle. What a great username. Mad Speak. Hello, Mad Speak. Nate here. Hello, Nate. Black Panda Cat 1979. Also complaining about the €6 donut. Thank you, Thomas, Tiger, and 2 ninjas here. Josh Tanberg. Probably Josh Tanberg, isn't it? Keith. Good name, Keith. Strong name. Who else is here? Ninja again. Ninja is adding to the Halloween feel. Yeah, so Andrew Baena. I met him for the first time on camera in a video. So we kind of said hello a little bit, and then we met the first time really where you actually exchange words and emotions in a video, which you can see on his channel, which is when I try and sweet sabotage sweet author. And I really enjoyed it. And then we've got very little time to spend together afterwards, so that's why we've got a show tonight just to hang out with him.
Okay, Eddie, just a sec. You're very choppy on my end as well, and our viewers say the same. It kind of happened like pretty rapidly.
Oh dear!
No, it's much
very
better.
little I can do.
You're perfect now. You're perfect now.
It's probably the grumpiness. Apologies,
okay.
Internet connection people. Oh, do you want internet connection update, everybody? You know, we all often talk about how bad my internet connection is. I found the company that I signed a contract with 3 years ago. Oh, the grumpiness is coming back. And they said they were going to get internet fiber optic to me in August of this year, and then nothing happened. And then I managed to speak to them again. It's coming in August 2023.
Okay.
So we've got another almost year of this choppiness. Enjoy it.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So between your blue screens of death and my choppy audio and not able to play background music, yeah. Right. Grumpiness is out. I am ready to receive Dan's introduction to Andrew Baena.
All right. Today we welcome Andrew Baena, who is a Canadian guitarist, shredder, and YouTuber. And actually, I figured out that we have some sort of the Canadian weeks, like the Teddy Bear weeks. We had Nick Johnson last week. We have Andrew Baena today. So let's see who we got for next week. Yeah. And Andrew is a great shredder. We were happy to meet him at Henning's place. He's also a death metal guitarist. He plays in a band called Carcosa. Also does a lot of instrumental stuff on his own YouTube channel with almost, I think, 300K. Andrew has a very weird preference for the color green, which we are going to talk about later. And he and his friend, they are an absolute TikTok phenomenon. They have a channel with almost 850,000 subs, where they are answering the most urgent questions like what are the metal pickup lines, or stuff like that. And this, like I already told you, it's one of the most dangerous things to check his channel when you're in the office, because you all of a sudden start giggling and you can't kind of tone it down. So yeah, he's like I would say like an internet phenomenon, because on every platform you can find him. You can see him with his green guitars, but you can also see him as a demo guy. He does a lot of demos for various brands, and he does very well so. And on top of that, he's a hell of a nice guy, and I'm very much looking forward to talk to him and find out what that green fetish is all about.
Me too. Let's bring him in then. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to Guitar Stories, Andrew Baena! Andrew Baena!
Hello!
Wow, that was such a nice introduction. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Welcome. You can save that to your phone and play that whenever you have a little blue day.
Yeah, I need to wake up in the morning to that every day.
Yeah, come on, Andrew, you can do it.
Yeah. You can get out of bed. Trust me.
Yeah, you did it yesterday. You can do it again. So, yeah, welcome to the show. Firstly, it's really weird, Andrew, to talk to someone who has the same name as me, even though I'm now known as Andy. In my head, I'm still Andrew.
Right.
That's
yeah.
weird.
Well, I'm used to being. Most people call me Baena, not Andrew. Like they just call me by my last name. So if that's easier for you, feel free to call me Baena instead.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
I don't know why.
You remember like John Brown, and I've never and Peter Keller. I've never really got my head around like calling people with their last names. It's kind of, is that a metal phenomenon, or I don't know?
I don't think so. I think it's just like a fun last name to say, and it's a little more unique than Andrew. Maybe I don't know. It's happened with every group of friends, even when they don't know each other. Like in high school. Okay. Those group of people just ended up calling me Baena eventually. Like everyone in my band calls me Baena, like, and they don't know each other. Like they all just, for some reason, eventually start doing that. And I'm like, yeah, it's fine with me. It's just funny when my parents are around because they get very confused.
Yeah. Did you ever have like a different nickname except for Baena?
No, it's usually just Baena. Yeah. For whatever reason, I didn't like being called Andy personally. I don't know why. I think it's like some weird thing. My mom didn't like that as a nickname, so therefore I didn't either. And I don't know. But yeah, mostly just Baena or Andrew.
All right, cool.
Now I'm utterly confused. Who am I?
What am I doing?
I know Dan is Dan. Dan is staying as Dan. Sometimes the Doctor. That's clear, right? I have a grounding point now. I can somehow work my way back up to communicating.
Too much information. My bad.
Yeah,
it is. Dan, what were you going to say? Sorry.
I was about to say, shall we get the elephant or address the elephant in the room, Andrew? What about?
No, I want the elephant to stay there. I want the elephant to stay there hovering and wiping its big nose over everybody.
Okay, fair enough.
Especially when I don't know what the elephant is.
Because Dan, and you know this, we have a new section where we do our guest in a nutshell. And before we go off, on some deep tangent into why when you mix blue and yellow together, this suddenly excites Andrew Baena. Let's do the quick fire questions.
Ooh, that was
right.
Good.
Here we go. And I turn these into YouTube Shorts, which is one of the main reasons we do this. It's all about easy editing and promotion. So, first question, Andrew Baena, what was your first guitar?
My first guitar was a cheap Strat clone that you can get at Costco. If you guys know what Costco is, it's like a big supermarket, or not supermarket, like department store, I guess. My parents got it for me for Christmas when I was 13. And yeah, just a, Strat copy clone that came with like a little 5-watt amp and all that good stuff. And that was my first guitar.
Excellent.
Still at my parents' house.
Oh, you still have it? That's amazing.
Yeah, it doesn't work anymore, but it's there.
All right.
It's one of the most fun rings you can have. I had the same.
Nice.
All right. We learned from you the favorite pickup lines. But what's your favorite pickup?
Oh, probably the Seymour Duncan Pegasus.
Mm-hmm.
That is usually my preference. I have that in a bunch of my 7 and 8 strings, and I don't know. I just always seem to go towards it. I've tried other ones. I've tried Nazguls and all that, but I don't know. For some reason, the Pegasus is the one for me.
Are you a passive pickup guy?
Most of the time. I don't have a strong preference necessarily, but it just tends to end up being passive most of the time. And so I guess, I do like them more. Don't know why, but I do.
All right.
It's very funny that you guys are like looking at me. It's tripping me out.
We did it by accident once, and we think it's funny, so we're going to continue doing it. But my mic is on the other side.
I thought you were like looking because somebody came into your room or something for a while, and then I was like, "Oh, they're looking."
No, just go with it.
Okay. Yeah.
Just go with it. Yeah. Andrew, please describe your worst ever haircut.
Worst haircut. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Probably what I had when I started high school. I had a big old mushroom, or not mushroom cut. What is it called? Like the bowl cut.
cut?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I used to have when I was a young boy.
Oh.
Fantastic.
And then I just went for this for the rest of my life, forever.
Do you use any gel or something to kind of style your hair?
If I'm not feeling lazy, yes, but most of the time, no.
And he's giggling like a little lady. What's wrong? That's a legit question, isn't it?
I just thought that was a really weird question.
No. No, you know, when I deal with artists, there are a lot of guys that bring their own stylist, and whenever they want to do shootings, they do some, you know, some sort of gel and everything.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm doing like a music video or something, then yeah, definitely. But on a day-to-day basis, no.
All right. Okay. Sweet. All right. Since you are an extended range player, what do you prefer? Baritone guitars or down tunings on regular guitars?
Like you mean down tuning extended range or baritone?
Yeah,
or
like I mean, do you prefer
range?
like 28 inch
options.
scale length, or like
Oh,
slightly reduced scale length, but then
I see.
down tuned?
I prefer longer scale lengths whenever possible because I like playing with as thin of a string as I possibly can, within, you know, the stupid tunings I'm using. But I would prefer the scale length is longer so that I can get away with thinner strings, basically.
Okay. What's the thickest gauge you would use, personally?
Oh man, I have used up to a 105, but a 95 I think is like the biggest that I'm comfortable with in terms of guitar. And then for bass, I use a 170.
Okay, wow. 105 for guitar is already pretty thick.
Yeah.
Damn.
I try not to use that because it's a little overkill. Just a little bit, tiny bit.
Okay.
Final question for me. What is your favorite post-gig meal?
Oh, man. I don't know about my favorite, but the most common is definitely McDonald's because it's like 1 a.m. and there's no other option. So not my favorite, but it's what I got. As you drink. Hell yeah.
Same here. We got a bank holiday, and the only option I had was going to a burger shop.
Exactly.
Hashtag not sponsored. All right. Last question. What is your favorite wood combination on a guitar?
Oh man, I am one of the people that don't care that much about tone wood, so I always go for what feels the most comfortable to me, which would be swamp ash for the body, mostly because it's really lightweight, and then for the neck, usually just some form of maple. Roasted maple looks a bit nicer than plain maple, but still has the same feel, so I like that. But yeah, for me, it's more about the feel than the sound.
Okay, do you prefer, or do you like open pore or woods that feel a little bit more like open pore, like Wenge or you know, woods like that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, swamp ash is usually treated that way as well, where you can kind of like see the grain, and yeah, I like that.
But I mean also for the fretboard, because you know, especially with extended range, like Wenge is a pretty stiff wood, and a lot of companies kind of use Wenge or Bubinga for those kind of extended necks.
Oh man, for fretboard, I'm not sure. I don't honestly think I've ever cared one way or the other, but usually just like ebony seems to be the most common, ebony or rosewood or something like that, and that's usually fine with me. Again, for me, it's more of like a look and feel thing more than anything else. I like how maple looks as well, but in terms of the sound or feel, I think that the fretboards sound the same. But I know I might be alone on that one.
All right.
Well, good news is, Baena, the quickfire questions are over, and I feel that I know you a little bit better now because I felt that I could have predicted your answer to that final question. That's how well I feel I know you now.
Good.
I mean, you were 2 steps away from saying I don't give a toss, but
well, that would have been a boring answer, but I could have said that.
But I guess that one thing we didn't talk about is you weren't into pedals when we first met. Like we did this pedal video, and you said you're not really a pedal guy, and that surprised me.
Yeah, I grew up I grew up mostly with digital products. Like, you know, my first thing that I learned how to record on was Pod Farm. So I kind of grew up having digital modelers always. And it wasn't really until like the last few years where I even had pedals at all. And the only reason, I mean, not the only reason, but a big reason why I started getting into them is because of doing gear demos on YouTube. So ironically, I did it the other way around, where I'm like being put in the position where pedal companies are asking me to make videos. And I'm like, I mean, I'll do it, but I don't know if I'm the best guy to do that, but I'll try. And then now I have a bunch of pedals, and I'm like, I don't know how this happened, but all right, here we go.
They showed up at the doorstep, you know? It's just...
Yeah, I did things very opposite. And same with like physical amps. I'm in the exact same way, where now I have physical amps, but again, I'm so used to using plugins and modelers that I find using real amps and pedals way harder, because it's just not what I grew up with. So like I actually still kind of think that digital products are easier to use, which I know is probably the total opposite of you two, and I love that. But yeah, I think it's mostly just to do with like how I grew up and what I learned on. And now it's like I'm trying to like relearn what I already know, but with physical products. And just, you know what I mean? It's kind of hard in a way, because I'm like, well, if I just open this thing on my computer, I can do it in 2 seconds, you know?
That's amazing. It's like a complete transformation, because for you, the industry standard is kind of the digital thing, and you're kind of making your way into the analog world.
Yeah, it's the total opposite of most people.
Yeah, it's cool.
Now, I was talking about that sort of player yesterday when I was in a brand meeting, and I was talking about, you know, some players have never played through a real amp or a tube amp, let alone something else. And now we're talking about it. It's really weird that it's come full circle within 24 hours.
I'm your guy.
And I feel like you're being apologetic, and I don't think you need to be. I think whatever you love, and I kind of suck at the software stuff, because I fiddle too much, whereas I should probably just, you know, load up a preset and slightly adjust it.
That's pretty much what I do. Honestly, like, I mean, if I can find one that I already, if I find one that already sounds good, like, I don't know, I have no shame in just using that. No. Like, why should I spend an extra 3 hours messing around with settings if I can do this and it sounds amazing immediately? Then I'm like, all right, well, I'll just go with that.
Good. Right, I need to learn from that. Stop twiddling virtual knobs so often.
But I guess like from the opposite end of things is probably different for you, where you are used to like the almost like physical limitations, where you're like, well, I only have like these pedals and these amps. And then when you go digital, you're like, oh my God, I have 100 amps and 300 pedals, and I want to use all of them because, you know, you have so many options. Whereas for me, I'm kind of like Tube Screamer, 5150, cab. Yeah, okay, that's about right. I'm good.
Yeah.
That's the danger with software, isn't it? There's just so much choice
so many
that
options,
you can go nuts. But yeah, you're absolutely right. And sometimes I just load up the most basic rig and end up leaving that in the mix, and it's good.
Yeah.
Simplicity.
Exactly.
Right, we should talk gear, I guess. We should do our gear picks of the week. And Andrew has come prepared with gear picks. I'm transitioning into calling you Baena, by the way. I've done it once so far. I tested it. It felt good. I liked it. I'm going to go back to it again. I like talking to another Andrew, that's all. Right.
Okay, who's going to start?
As our guest, I guess you should choose. Who do you want to go first? Do you want to go first, or do you want me first? Well, how do you want to do it? It's your show.
I will have. Let's have Dan go first, so I can get a feel for what I'm supposed to say here.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Then it's time for Dan's theme tune.
Dance, pick up the week. Dance, pick up the week.
Are we on again? Yeah,
We're back.
It's a hit. Yeah. See, he trusts me more than you. He wants to know what he can say on the show, so I'm going first.
You know, I think that when I've started asking the guests, I haven't written it down, but I'm pretty sure everyone says Dan first. I'm pretty sure, and please, people that watch the show or listen to the show regularly, let me know, reach out. But I don't think anyone has ever said, yeah, we'll get that tall Afro guy to go first.
So we need statistics
sure.
here. We need someone to crawl through
Someone
every
write
single
those
episode.
stats.
Yeah, I want to see the stats. All right, talking about pedals, by the way. I gotta give you a little bit of rundown of what happened. I had a rough time or a hard time to kind of figure out what I was supposed to pick because that was a shitty week.
Synchronized drinking. Sorry, Dan. Andrew and I just drank at the same time. That was super weird.
Amazing.
It's because we have the same name.
Yeah, BFFs forever. So, so it was kind of tough to decide on something. So I picked like the most uncommon, the weirdest thing that I could find, and that is the KHDK reissue of the Annihilator pedal, Frankenstein's Annihilator pedal. So, Misfits fan, of course, there are plenty of guys that love the Misfits. I love them myself. And what I really dig about the pedal, and I said it's a reissue. Hello, Andy. It's a reissue of the original Annihilator. And that pedal glows in the dark. And you really got to give kudos to the guys in Prague, to KHDK, to that they kind of come up with those kind of weird ideas of having cool graphics and glow in the dark pedals. Also, if they do a reissue of a pedal, I'm digging the idea to kind of come up with a new graphic on it, because usually the big companies, they always try to, maintain in that realm and, keep the CI of the pedal. And KHDK, they just say, Dave Karen and his boys, they just say, fuck it. We just go with something new. And the pedal sold out immediately. I think it was like $300. It's got, it's like an octaver. It's a boost pedal. It's also a blender, so you can dial in a plethora of tones. And I checked out a couple of videos of the pedal, and I was really skeptical at first, but I ended up liking it a lot. And I actually was thinking that it would fit on Andy's board very well. Yeah. So that's my pick of the week.
What price are we talking, Dan? Come on, give me price.
300.
300 smackaroonies for a glow-in-the-dark pedal.
Yep. Like basically 3 channels. It's an interesting pedal. And I think it's also limited edition. It comes with a COA. They made 250 pieces. So that's always nice that, you've got something special. And
that's how they get you.
That's how they get you, of course.
See, now I want one. And now I can't have one. I want one.
Scarcity.
Everything's limited edition until it sells out, and then they release it again because it's sold out.
Yeah, that's my pick of the week. Would you kind of want to try that? Is that something that's up your alley, guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is pretty cool. There's this is like a super specific example, but there's this I guess metalcore band called Knocked Loose, and they do this thing where only on the breakdowns they throw in like an extra octave fuzz thing, and that pedal looks like it would do that. So that's what I would probably use it for. And also it's glow in the dark and it's green, so there's that too.
There you go. That was I didn't even consider that when picking the pedal. Good point. Good boy. Good boy.
Playing the game here, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
I like it very much. I heard it through.
Sorry?
I heard it through Dan's phone, through Dan's microphone before we started the show, and how our brains have somehow managed to understand what things actually sound like through all that filtering through phones and stuff. I think it might actually sound quite good, like in real life. But I enjoyed, even though I heard it through those different filters and across the internet.
Through 3 different layers of.
Yeah. I think that's a solid choice, Dan. I think it's a solid choice.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Very welcome. I'm a bit upset that it's sold out and it's $300 though. That's. I'm not saying it's too expensive. I'm just sad that I can't have one to try. That's a shame.
I feel you.
Okay. Do you want to go next, then, Andrew Baena? I'll go for the full name there.
You sound like
different every time.
You sound like his mom when he's done something wrong. Do you want to go next, Andrew Baena?
It's your turn in the bath, Andrew Baena. Right. Yeah. Please, our wonderful guest, Baena, Andrew Baena, would you go next with your pick?
Sure.
You have a guitar, right?
Yes. So the one that I picked is one of the new guitars from Solar Guitars. They release a new guitar like literally every single week, which is crazy. I don't know how they do that, but I digress. So they released kind of like an Explorer. Well, you can see it on the screen there. It's a 7-string Explorer style guitar, super bright neon orange, which is like the next best thing to neon green. So that's cool. Yeah, so it's a signature model from somebody whose name I'm not sure how to pronounce. I think it's Marzi Montezeri. I don't know too much about this artist. I looked into him like very briefly after I saw the guitar because I thought the guitar was really cool, and it seems like he's like a Texas shredder who's in a band called Heavy as Texas. He's like an Iranian guitarist. He said that the finish has something to do with like his Iranian heritage, which is cool. Again, I don't know enough to fully explain that, but just seemed like a lot of thought went into the build, and it just looks really cool. And it's pretty rare to see like 7-string Explorer style guitars. So I always think that, especially with like extended range guitars, so often it's just like the same super strat over and over and over. Anytime there's like an Explorer or like a different shape, I always think it's cool. But yeah, and it's all
I dig that hard. I dig that really hard.
Yeah.
I think that looks phenomenal. What I like about it, I like that there's almost, I don't know if it is neck through, but it looks like there's a centerpiece with the wings added on.
Yeah.
That adds a whole other dimension of design.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really cool looking. I've never tried this model from Solar, but I've had a few other guitars from them, and they've always been great. So yeah, it looks cool. And anytime somebody makes a non-super strat 7 or 8 string, I'm always excited.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a good pick.
one. Yeah, it's an excellent pick.
Do you know a rough price?
It's $1,050 US, so probably about the same in euros. So not too crazy.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Only thing that could have made it better was a baritone scale length, but fair enough.
Good
Not my signature. Yeah. I get it.
Not your signature, no. I hear you. Danny, it feels like you have something bursting to say about this guitar.
Not about the guitar, but I would be kind of interested to hear what Andrew thinks about the Pit Viper green one that we did for Heaven Shall Burn. I'm really curious to hear how he likes that. I'm sorry, I kind of, there you go. I'll send it to you. I did we did a couple of years ago we did a one-off guitar, and that would, from what I understood, what Baena said would be like almost the quintessential guitar if it had an extended range. So I just sent you an image. I would be interested to hear his opinion on that one. I'm sorry that I kind of hijack your pick, but
no, it's okay.
I just felt like everything that you said just kind of felt like, oh wow, that would be a guitar that he would be completely into. Could you share that with us, Andy?
No, I'm curious to see.
I can share it with you later when it's relevant.
All right, I'm very sorry, Mr. Ferris.
I mean, I'm running a show here where we have a strict format. It's very formal. We do the thing, and then we do the thing, and then I play the jingle, and then there's a thing.
All right,
and then you've gone and done another thing.
No, it's okay. Save it for later. Okay. My take on the soda, I think it's.
I mean, if we were making a cake, this would be covered in gravy by now.
That's why I'm so bad at the kitchen. It's just like.
All right, I'll show it. I feel the. All right, there
on.
it is. There, fine. I'm showing it, and I'm gonna.
Okay.
How do you like it? The green one.
Yeah, that's sick. The red pickups are a little much for me personally. Like the red versus green always makes me think of Christmas, that color scheme. But other than the pickups, guitar. I love the shape and the color. Guitar. Obviously, that looks awesome.
All right, yeah, cool. All right,
I really like it. Yeah, you're welcome, Dan.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah,
whatever.
The only thing I kind of that doesn't quite fit to me. If you could show us the solo again, it's like the angles of the like it feels like a little bit like
the horn,
the horns and
wait,
you know
is it? That
almost as if it's a little bit off, almost like the LTD ones. They look pretty similar. So,
yeah, maybe they
I'm
had
so
to change
used.
it because copyright or something. I don't know.
I think so too, but it's just you're so used to the original Destroyer or Explorer
Yeah.
shape that it
Right,
kind
yeah.
of feels a little bit weird. But yeah,
Yeah.
Did you just say Destroyer before you said Explorer?
yeah.
You need to take a holiday. Can I leave it there?
Where in Ibanez Land?
I've had 4 hours sleep, dude. Don't push me. Running on fumes here. Right. I'm just going to play my jingle and get on with it.
Andy's Pick of the Week.
Right, I've picked. It's not a guitar. It's you have matter and antimatter. I've chosen an anti-Ibanez just to cancel out the Ibanez we just shoot. Oh my goodness, shoot. We shoot in there. No, I've chosen something. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I've chosen something that came up on my Instagram feed earlier that I kind of thought might upset Dan a little bit, and I upset in a good way, of course. I'll just show it. It's this. It was from Vintage Guitars, which are always difficult to search on the internet.
Weird.
And I think Dan's reply was, "What's that? A Les Paul, an RG, and a butt ugly SG Explorer thing."
That was
paraphrasing slightly there.
That was spot on. That's exactly what I said.
Thank you. I'm pretty sure that's what you said. So my choice, if you're watching the video, is not the RG or the Les Paul. It is the butt ugly Explorer SG thing, which Vintage are calling the very catchy VMX 5000 VW 5000 VMX, or the Vintage VMX Series Warp electric guitar in satin black. And let's have a look at it just on its own. Sorry, Andrew, you're off screen at the moment, but from that angle, I think it's a little uglier, yeah. And then from this angle, I kind of like it again,
like a spaceship.
It's very axy, very sort of Klingon weapon thing. And the headstock, I think, lets it down. I'm unchoosing my own pick of the week, but the headstock, I think, lets it down seriously. But it's coming in at around £529, so whatever that is in euros and dollars, and also Canadian dollars. Let's not forget those.
Like $3,000 probably.
I'll just read a little bit of the marketing because I think it's fun. With its menacing, all-over, blackest of black satin finishes, distinctive lines and designs that speak for themselves, the Warp features Vintage's renowned craftsmanship, quality, tone woods, exceptional playability, and premium hardware to produce killer metal guitars, specifically designed to handle every genre of metal, from heavy to thrash, to death metal, and beyond. I think that's some amazing, fun copyright that they've done.
It's always
Floyd
interesting
Rose
to hear
FRTS
how
2000.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, man. Yeah.
I was just gonna say it's always funny hearing how companies can get creative with saying it's a satin black finish, but like how did they make that not sound boring? You know?
Yeah.
It's all over blackest of black satin finish. I think.
Of course.
It's got a Floyd Rose FRTS 2000 special double locking vibrato system with locking nut. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's got Wilkinson hardware and Wilkinson pickups, double coil pickups, they're calling them. Wilkinson double coil pickups. That's a funny term. Yeah, that's my pick. The ever so catchy VMX Series Warp, which Vintage have brought back. Oh, I think I've excited myself there.
Yep.
Yeah. Right.
Can I start renting? Man. Can I start renting?
Hang on. Before you start renting, I'll show them the photo that you sent to me. May I?
Of course.
Because what we like to do, Andrew Baena, is when we talk about any other product on the show, we like to somehow link it back to Ibanez guitars. Because, we find that smallest little hair connection, and then we tie them together and strap it to 2 horses and whip their behinds until they bring it onto the show.
The unofficial sponsor of the podcast.
No. Full disclosure. That's the only thing that's in my head, like 24/7. So basically, all right, show it.
So what?
Show it, please.
Shall I show you the picture? I'll show you the picture.
Yeah, please.
Oh, sorry. The manly voice. Yeah. This is the picture you sent me and said you might have something for me from 2011.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Those right there, sir, are butt ugly guitars. Dan, you said you had something to say about these 3 Ibanez models. Please,
remember these.
Please expand.
I couldn't agree more. I didn't like them at the time when they got released. The Glyph was kind of neat because that was Mick Thompson's Slipknot signature model, but the Falchion and also the Halberd, that sounds more like a piercing in your personal private area, not like a cool name for a guitar. And I didn't also like the shapes, and that's pretty much the same with that VW Volkswagen vintage whatever guitar. It's just not pretty. It looks I don't know.
That is better. That is not even in the same camp as those 2011 Ibanez's.
Of course it is. You know,
I don't know. I do like the Halcyon. Was it called the Halcyon? The one over there, or Halberd? Sorry, that one is cool. I like the Halberd. Yeah.
See, Andy.
But the other 2 Ibanez I don't like, and yeah. I do remember Mick Thompson rocking that though. So
yeah, it comes down with metal guitars.
Before.
Say again?
I thought I'd seen it somewhere before. Now I know where.
Yeah. He was playing that. Like, it was kind of short lived. The whole series was kind of short lived. But you know, with metal guitars, it's a very fine line between pointy and ridiculous, and that vintage and also, you know, those old extreme models, they are, for me personally, fall more into that ridiculous category where it's been overdone, right?
Yeah, it's hard to find a new shape. I think your solo is the best looking guitar out of every guitar I've seen in the show so far. But we do have to pick the winner, I guess, if you want to put it that way. Or I don't really care about the winner. It's more about the loser that I'm more interested in, because it's usually me. So we're going to play a game, Andrew, called Buy, Borrow, or Burn, which if you've seen the show before, which I'm pretty sure you have, you'll know what it is. I will explain it. It is a hypothetical game in which you have enough money where you could afford to buy any of the 3 picks that any 3 of us have had, but also you need to have a friend that has them, so you could also borrow them for an uncertain amount of time. But then you have to burn the remaining one. So it's very, very simple. I know you know the game. I'm just going through it so I remember the rules, because I forget everything. And we've got this ability to do YouTube polls, and it kind of worked last week. So engage. It says engage with your audience. So here we go. So let's rather than we'll go for Dan's pedal. I'll put that as option 1. And then we'll go, I'm going to call you B for a moment. B's guitar.
It's and different every time.
A is guitar. A is me, okay? Just in case anyone wonders. The first question is, buy? Question mark. Let's have a little poll vote. So there are how many people viewing? About 27 people currently viewing. Let's have some of those views. And while we do that, I'll play the jingle, and we can buy, borrow, or burn. Buy, borrow, or burn? Please tell me Dan is the only one that's voted so far. All right, because Dan's pedal wasn't 100% then. Okay, so by borrowing, burning, we also complicate it further by having you guess for me and me guessing for you and the remaining person guessing for whoever's remaining. While that poll is running, Andrew Baena, would you please guess for Dan what you think Dan would do on this buy, borrow, burn situation?
Right. Well, I know he would burn the guitar Andy picked. So let's go with that. As for buy or borrow, I mean, I guess. Well, he would probably buy the pedal because it was his pick and borrow the Solar. That's what I think Dan would do.
Spot on. And statistics never lie. And apparently, we're kind of gravitating into a direction where Dan's pedal is actually like almost 50%.
I can't vote on my own poll. This is really annoying.
I opened the stream in another tab just so I could vote.
Oh, I could use my secondary YouTube channel.
Yeah, just go incognito mode or something.
There you go.
Well, the point is, buying Dan's pedal is at 50%, but Andrew Baena or B's guitar is at 25, and my guitar is at 25. So there are no losers in this section.
That's nice.
Well, I'm not satisfied with that, if I'll be honest. Considering closing the channel.
This is the last.
So we're just going to go for burn.
Okay.
We're going to go for A's guitar, B's guitar, and crappy pedal. Right. This is the burn question. And while we're just letting that run, Dan, would you guess for me, please?
Of course. You would buy the pedal, borrow the vintage, and burn the Solar. Here's the thing.
Wrong.
But not the pedal is wrong. You would borrow the Solar and burn your own pick. No?
I would buy the Solar out of all those things.
Okay.
I would absolutely buy that Solar, and I would borrow the vintage.
Come on.
I have to play that vintage at some point. I won't get an opportunity, but the most exciting product in those three is the Solar. And therefore, by definition, even though I actually really don't want to do it, I don't want to do it because I want to play the pedal as well, but I want to play the guitar more. Therefore, I have to burn Dan's pedal, which works out nicely for me. Works out lovely.
Yeah,
I just don't want to do it this time. Last week and previous weeks, I did want to do it, but now I don't want to. Is that clear that I don't want to do that?
I accept that.
You have to, but you don't want to.
Yeah, I never guessed worse.
Right, I'm looking at the poll. 75% of people would burn my guitar. Nobody would burn Andrew Baena's guitar, and 25% of people would burn Dan's pedal, which we can probably agree statistically means that I am yet again the loser.
Well.
Right, I'm going to guess for B.
Okay.
Before I do, hang on. Let's go to the chat. Let's just see if some anybody's actually written any stuff, or they're just going for the polls anymore. Valeria would buy the Frankenstein pedal, borrow the Solar, and burn the Buzz Lightyear wannabe guitar to infinity and beyond. You've changed, Valeria. You've changed. Oh, here's a person who knows what he's talking about. Right, not that I'm picking and choosing. Studio Humil, who has sent us a €4 super chat. Thank you very much for the super chat earlier, Humil. Michiel. That's your fault for messing that up. Buy the vintage. Oh, really? Borrow the Solar. And oh, really? Burn Dan's pick because he had drank through the straw of his sippy cup next to a hot mic. And I just clapped next to the mic, which probably puts me in hell as well.
He changed his pick immediately.
Yeah. I like the thinking. The logic there just makes me laugh. Sarang would buy the vintage. Okay, I'm not picking that. It just was the next one. Because it scratches the Jackson itch he's having. Borrow the Solar Explorer to see how much neck dive it has. Interesting question. Burn the pedal because then it can glow in the lights too.
Oh my god.
And then let's just even the balance, shall we? Jason Welch would buy, then sell the pedal, borrow the Solar, burn the vintage guitar, make sure everyone knows I'm burning a vintage guitar without offering any context. I like that.
It's interesting.
Clever.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So yeah, did I close that poll? Yeah,
Yep, you
people are
did.
burning the vintage. I did. Right. For Baena, I am going to pick that he would buy the Solar, he would borrow the pedal, and he would burn the vintage all blackest of the black satiny finishes.
Yeah, you got it.
Darn it.
Sorry. There's only room for one explorer thing on this show.
Just as we're being hypothetical, if you hadn't have picked the Solo as your pick, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you have picked my guitar? Just out of curiosity.
I don't think so. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's fine. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. It bears
Yeah, I
no
was
resemblance to any.
not
form
in
of-
love with that shape.
Yeah. See, hang on. Right. I liked it there when it was in a pile of guitars. I thought it looked cool, and then when I found the actual photo, I thought it looked like a cheap. I thought it looked like something you get from Costco. That looks like what I would imagine my first metal guitar looks like.
It looks like a Guitar Hero guitar, like not a real guitar. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like the controller kind of thing.
Yeah,
where you just push some buttons. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or even one that you would see in the game, like the character playing, because they're just made up, whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like a real guitar. I don't know how else to put it.
Like a virtual Jack Black would play.
Yeah, or
I think
something.
You'll find
like
it
that.
is a real guitar. I think you'll find it is real, and it does exist, and it's £529. And it's got
I look forward to seeing
pickup.
the demo on your channel.
I so want to see that video. I think it would be like the best performing video ever. If you burn it right after playing it.
I think I'd probably have to buy one, and I'm not going to put my money where my heart is. So $529 is a bit too steep for me.
Yeah, that's right.
I'd buy the heck out of that Solar, though.
Yeah, it looks nice.
Yeah.
It would burn really well, too, though. It's already the right color.
Probably would.
Do you see they did a white one for Kirk Winstein as well?
Yeah, that was what I was going to pick originally, because it has the single bridge pickup, and I love that. But I saw the 7-string, and I was like, I'll go with that one instead. That was a close pick, though.
Oh.
Right, well, thank you everybody for playing that game with me. I always feel I might have like some kind of heart attack during those things. I get so excited and then so offended. It's such an emotional roller coaster. I can't help it, Dan.
Don't take it personally. It's not your guitar. You didn't craft it with your blood, sweat, and tears, you know.
He already bought it.
But what's worse is that I agree. I agree, and that's the problem. I feel bad.
Oh.
Right. I want to know more about Andrew Baena and his band Carcosa, and has it got anything to do with that lovely, lovely fuzz pedal? So let's find out. First question. Has it got anything to do with the fuzz pedal, the naming of your band, Andrew Baena?
It does not, but I do have that pedal because I found out there was a pedal called that after our band, and I was like, well, I have to buy that, obviously. I've never used it in any recording, but I haven't.
Okay.
Actually, that's not true. We did use it in one song as like a third guitar layer that you can barely hear, but it's there.
Okay.
But I was like, we have to use it at least once.
Good. Well, thank you. That's kind of all I wanted to know. So I'm done now. Dan, over to you.
So yeah, I would be interesting to hear how long does the band already exist? Was that like the first venture and then the whole YouTube thing came afterwards, or like what was the order?
Yeah, it's the band has actually only existed since 2020. We released our first song in June 2020, so during like the peak of COVID. But we had already we basically, like, the four of us were already in a different band before this one, and we had been doing that for quite a while. I think we were doing it for like 7 years or something like that. Various lineup changes, but two of us were the same the whole time. And basically, we got to the point where it ended up being the final lineup of that band, which was the four of us. And at that point, our musical style had changed like so much over the course of that time, because obviously new people, and you know, it was my first band, so I was also kind of figuring out what I wanted to do. So by the end of the band, we kind of felt like we had finally figured out like what we wanted to sound like, and it was completely different than how the band started. And also, like, we had been doing it for so long, we kind of felt like we were, you know, like spinning our wheels, like we were we got as far as we could get with that band, and no matter what we did, it didn't really seem like it was growing. So it was a hard decision because it was like my baby, because I started the band. But we basically eventually decided, like, okay, we're gonna break up, but start a new band with the exact same lineup and just take the sound that we were going to use with the previous band and just, you know, hit the ground running with that immediately instead. And I'm really glad we did that, because I think if we released the Carcosa music under the previous band name, I don't think it would have had nearly the same impact. And the way that I kind of thought of it was like, well, this is a question for you guys. What finally made us decide to do this was I was just kind of like, how hard is it to convince you to listen to a band that you've heard of in the past but decided you don't like? And my answer to that is, it's extremely hard. Like, if I've heard of a band and I'm like, they're not for me, the chances of me ever listening to them again are super low. Like, it would have to be like someone would have to force me to listen to it.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my thought too, is I was like, all right, well, we've been around for a long time and people have either heard of us or they haven't, but nothing really seems to be growing. So I was like, well, if we release this new style of music under this same name, I feel like a lot of people probably won't check it out anyways, because they're like, oh yeah, I've heard of that band, I don't like them. Whereas if we start a new thing with zero expectations and we hopefully, you know, come out with something impressive immediately, then like that has the total opposite effect, where people are like, whoa, this band came out of nowhere and like they, you know, did this thing right away. That was the hope. Obviously I had no idea if it was going to work, and luckily it did. But yeah, that's kind of like where that all came from. And we played, it was kind of funny because we already had the whole EP done for Carcosa in like 2019, before we had announced that we were quitting our previous band. And then we played our final show like literally a week before the world shut down for COVID. So we were so lucky we got to do that, because otherwise we would have just never had a farewell show. But like at that farewell show, like people were like, oh, like, we're so sad you guys are breaking up. And we're kind of like, yeah, it's okay. Like, no big deal. Because, you know, we already knew what we were going to do. But yeah, that's kind of like the quick version of that story. But yeah, the Carcosa itself has only existed since 2020.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
And what was like the very first thing where you kind of, you know, gained some audience, where you know, attracted people in the interweb? Was that YouTube? Was that, I don't know. Yeah,
definitely YouTube. I've had my YouTube channel for a really long time, since like 2011, maybe something like that.
Okay.
Wow.
But the way that I used to do videos was I kind of just did whatever I wanted with no expectations, which I think is how probably everyone starts their YouTube channel, or at least used to. And then I made this video called How to Get Signed to Rise Records, which is like a pretty popular record label. But at the time, they just so happened to announce like 10 new bands that they had just signed. And in my opinion, at the time, I was like, every one of these bands sounds exactly the same. So I just made a joke, like 1 minute long song that just like parodied that musical style, which was like the, you know, metalcore of 2011, which don't get me wrong, I love that music, by the way, but you know, you can make fun of things you like. It's that's actually more fun, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Definitely.
But yeah, so I made that and I just put it up like expecting nothing. It's literally like a stock like image of like a grunge background with just like Microsoft Paint lyrics on the screen.
Okay.
And I did it and put that up, and then that got like a few 100,000 views, which back in 2011 especially was like insane. Like I didn't even know that was possible. So I was like, oh my God, like, okay, maybe I should actually like, you know, try at YouTube, or maybe like this is, you know, actually worth pursuing or whatever. And then that kind of gave me it gives you like this like high, you know, like when you release something that goes viral or it gets like a ton of views, you're like, oh, and then you are constantly kind of like chasing that again. Yeah. So then I spent like a bunch of time kind of like figuring out like what I wanted to do, and just kept releasing YouTube videos. And then I had a few more that were successful, where I used to do like pop meets gent, basically. So I would do like gent covers of pop songs or metalcore covers of pop songs. And I had a few of those do like really well as well. And that was like around the same time that I ended up starting my band, and it all kind of like went hand in hand. So my band started because I basically didn't know anybody locally that liked the same music as me. So I just wrote everything by myself and just put it on my YouTube channel. And then through that, I ended up finding people who liked my videos and were like, oh, like we will play that music with you. And then that became a band instead of a solo project. And yeah, cool. pretty weird process to go about all of this.
Yeah, but on the other hand, it also is kind of pretty organic in some way. Did you kind of reach out to people that have the same interests, right, and share the same passion for that style of music?
Yeah. Like I would literally just go to local shows by myself because I just didn't know anybody that liked the same music as I did. And then when I would go to those local shows, like it wasn't very often, but every once in a while there'd be like one or two people that'd be like, oh, like I've seen you on YouTube or whatever. And I was like, oh, really? Like to me, I was just like, what the fuck? Like that's crazy. And then a couple of those people were like, oh, if you ever want to, you know, have someone to play music with or you want to jam, like let me know. And that's kind of what made me be interested in pursuing that. Because at the time I was like not even thinking of doing a band or live music at all. I didn't really think about it until our show promoter asked me if I wanted to play a show. And I was like, well, I can't because it's just me. Like that would make no sense. And then I kind of, you know, worked on it from there and made it into a band. And here we are.
Great.
That seems so backwards to how most things, like there are so many bands out there trying to get shows and like so many people starting bands, and yet you're waltzing in here getting offered shows without even having a band. And that is equally refreshing and frustrating to me.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it's, I mean, I definitely don't mean it to say it in like a, you know, I'm not like bragging or anything.
No, absolutely.
I was just as surprised as anyone else would be because that wasn't even necessarily my intention. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of what forced me to think about even starting a band in the first place, which is, I'm glad that did, because otherwise I probably just never would have even tried to be in a band, I don't think. Yeah. So it's a weird way to go about things for sure.
And yet your most or your largest channel, the channel with the most exposure, is your TikTok channel.
Yeah.
How can you fill us in? How do you build a successful TikTok channel?
Man, I really wish I had some advice, but much like me stumbling my way into being in a band, I feel like TikTok was the exact same situation where literally all I did was I was already doing these videos on YouTube, like a long form, you know, like 3-4 minute video where it's me and the vocalist of my band, Johnny, and we would just scream things that were funny because I don't know, I was just like, it was literally the dumbest idea. I was just like, what if we just do a video where we scream, but it's jokes? Like that was the extent of the idea. It was very, very little thought.
It's brilliant. It is so brilliant.
And I put it on YouTube. And on YouTube it did like okay, like it got like, you know, 10-20K, and I was like, hey, that's pretty good, I'm happy with that. But it wasn't like necessarily like viral. And then when TikTok came out, I was like, oh cool, like everyone else, I was like, oh man, like another social media platform that I have to use. Okay. I was like I mean, I guess I might as well just make one because like I could kind of see, like I knew that it was going to be a big platform because I saw every other genre other than metal was already using it. And anytime you see that, you know that metalheads are going to be the very last people to do it because they hate new things.
Excellent
so I was
advice.
Like, excellent yeah. So advice. I was like, hey, well, you know, worst case scenario, nothing happens. Best case scenario, if this platform grows and every other band starts using it, like my hope was like, well, when all the other bands start using it, hopefully I will have a head start. So I just did it because I was like, I don't know, let's see what happens. And literally all I did was I took those 3-minute videos and I just cut them into 3 videos, so 3 1-minute videos instead. And I just put it on the platform, and that's all I did. And then I woke up one day and one of them had like 10 million views, and I was like, oh, all right, I guess this is worth doing. And then, you know, 3 years later, now there's hundreds of them.
Oh yeah.
But
so unfortunately not like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to be, I don't be too sycophantic, but they don't get, I don't get bored of them. As Dan said earlier in the show, it's dangerous to open up your channel and your TikTok account at work because you can just lose yourself. I can watch just not I don't say all of them, but many of them, too many of them, and I'm still waiting. Like the breakdown, when you do the breakdown and then you do the pickup lines, I'm still like, what's it going to be? You know, it's that element of needing to know, and I think that's a perfect format for what you're doing. It's just so entertaining.
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, we almost feel the opposite way when we do them now, especially because we've been doing them for like 3 years. I'm kind of like, I don't really know why people keep watching these, because to me, I'm like, it's the same video every single time, but also it works every single time. So I'm not going to stop doing it, because that would be like shooting myself in the foot. But also, like, every time we put one up, I'm like, I don't, like, it's the same video over and over. Like, why do people like this? But all right.
Because people like familiarity. We love familiarity, but there's that we don't know what's coming, you know, because it is exactly the same. You're right. But, you know, we all watch Marvel movies and they're all exactly the same, you know.
Very true. Very true.
We eat food that's exactly the same. We have comfort things. And I know that when I have a spare moment that I can invest in some wasting time on TikTok, I know that it's not going to be an actual waste of time. When I watch your videos, it's going to be something that's going to make me chuckle. And at the very least, you're making people happy.
Well, that's good to hear.
What's your favorite pickup line, Baena?
Oh, man. We've said some ridiculous ones. Am I like? Do you guys care about swearing on this? I can't remember.
No,
I feel like I've already sworn anyway.
We've already passed that post quite a while ago.
Perfect. I think my favorite one, just because of how shocking it was like, what I don't remember exactly how it went, but it was like, let's play war. You lay on the ground and I'll blow the fuck out of you. And I was just like, oh my god, it's ridiculous.
It's not just your. Sorry, Dan. It's not just your pickup lines. It's the way you both react to them. You're like, oh my god, and you comment on your own disgust or your own shock.
Also, like you're dancing, you're kind of lost in the music. It's like you're really invested in that. It's.
Is it a one take thing, or do you have to do several takes?
Yeah, well, it depends. There's some where we like mess up, so we'll do pretty much like what we do is I print like a sheet of like however many there are, like usually it's 4, I think. So I have like a printed thing of 4, and we just like put it on the like underneath the camera on the tripod, and then we do it in one take. Like the screaming is all done like on the spot, but like sometimes we'll mess up and like we'll forget a word, or like Johnny or me will be laughing like way too hard and we just like don't end up saying the line at all. So we end up, so like there's a couple times where we'll do them like a couple times in a row, but most of the best ones are usually the ones we just do in one take and it's our first try. But you know, a lot has to go right for that to actually work, you know.
Yeah, Baena, I'm really curious to know if stuff like you're on the top of my to-do list, if stuff like that would work at the metal concert.
Oh man, I don't think I would ever actually say any of those in real life to anybody. And I don't think anybody should.
There are actually quite a few women that comment. There's the Wicked Witch that says, this never disappoints, man. I live for these. Or just me imagining this entire video is directed at me specifically. It's just, I found my perfect guys. Danielle's, she said, I found my perfect guys.
Oh man. Yeah. But if you actually did that in real life, I think it would be a different story.
Yeah.
Like out of the blue, just yelling that at somebody, they'd be like, what the fuck are you doing?
Let's get back to guitars. Now, Dan sort of danced around a question earlier before I cut him off. Yeah. Like we would get cut off if we tried those pickup lines. And Dan, I believe, has a burning colored question for you.
Yeah. Why do you prefer that blend of blue and yellow? No, why the green? What's the whole thing about the green? Is that has that always been your favorite color, or is it just that in that metal context it kind of stands out?
It's pretty much like where my obsession with it started was actually with an Ibanez, which you'll be happy to hear, through what I think you guys call it the LNG finish. Is that correct? Yeah, LNG. So one of my favorite bands, After the Burial, one of their two guitarists, Justin Lowe, who unfortunately passed away, rest in peace to him. But the first time I ever heard an 8-string guitar was actually not Meshuggah. It was with After the Burial. And that was the first time I had heard like any guitar that was that low tuned in my life. And I was just like, what the fuck is that? Like, how do you make that noise with a guitar? And then I looked them up, and then he's playing like a lime green, neon green 8-string. And I was just like, that is like the coolest thing I've ever seen and heard, because I'd just never heard music like that before. And that's pretty much where it started. So I would grab it, but I'm like all plugged in right now. But I have like an Ibanez RG 852, which is the Prestige one, that actually had like custom refinished in like the same, LNG color that Justin had and all that. And yeah, I don't know. That's kind of where my obsession with both like 8-string and neon green started, I would say. And then there's a few other guitarists who come to mind who usually use neon green that I just always thought it looked really cool, especially on stage, and especially for metal. Like at the time when I was growing up with it, like it seemed like every single band always had like all black everything, and I was like, yeah, that's like cool, I guess, but that made those people who used those really, really bright neon colors stand out way more, because it was like, you'd go to a show and see like 5 bands, and every single band was using like some kind of Strat, and it was probably black, and they did the thing, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool, it's cool, it's cool. And then this band would come on, then they're using like all bright, like neon green, neon orange, neon pink, and I'm like, whoa! It just like that to me stuck out in my memory way more than any of the other finishes that I was seeing, especially near like that era of metal. Again, like I was talking about with extended range, especially like with 7 and 8 strings, like when I started getting into that, there was like no options. Like you could only get, basically like 2 or 3 companies made a 7 or an 8 string, and it was definitely black, and it was definitely a super Strat, So anytime I saw something that wasn't that, I was like, oh yes, like more of that, please. But yeah, that's pretty much where my like obsession with green started. And then the reason it continued, ironically, is because I think just on YouTube, like I didn't really necessarily think about it. It was just something I liked, so I just happened to have a lot of green stuff. And then people on YouTube kept commenting like what you just asked, like, why are you obsessed with green? Like, why do you like green so much? Why do you like green? And over and over and over. So the more people asked, the more I just went into it. So I just basically played into the meme, and I would basically like not explain myself, but just get more green shit and just keep going harder and harder and harder at it. So that's always been my thing, is like if I see something that people mention enough, then I'll be like, okay, like that's a thing people are picking up on, so I should do more of that. And it was the same theory for green. And it's even just from like this probably makes it sound like smarter than it actually was, but from like a branding perspective, it's come to the point now where, because I did that, anytime any company releases anything that's green and a guitar, like I will definitely be tagged in those comments. I'll definitely be tagged. And I'm like, that's awesome. And like that was an unintended side effect where now people associate me with the color green plus guitar, and I'm like, that's great. Like, anything you can do to have some kind of like brand or you could even say like a gimmick or whatever you want to call it, like something that makes people think of you, like I think that's a good thing. So I just chose to lean into that even more, basically.
Fantastic. Yeah. Andy, and if anyone would be interested in finding an 852 from Ibanez or a 2228 or some of these extended range guitars, do you know where they could probably look for that?
I have no idea, Dan. Where would you suggest we could get one of those?
Probably at a guitar auction platform.
Oh yeah, Andrew Baena, we'll just get you back to the backstage area for a moment while we talk about one of our sponsors, guitar auctions at Gardner Holgate. We'll see you in a minute, Andrew. Bye-bye. Yeah, Dan, I love that little segue you did there. So, we are brought to you this week by guitar auctions at Gardner Holgate. It's guitar- or -auctions.co.uk. You could buy some weird numbered Ibanez thing and bid on it in an auctiony way. There's something else you could bid on, Dan, that I found at guitar auctions. Are you a fan of the film Back to the Future?
Of course. Who wouldn't be?
That's a kind of rhetorical question because, of course, you're a fan of the film Back to the Future. Yeah. I found this, the Lot 152 Chiquita travel guitar with original gig bag. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that is the guitar that Marty McFly plugs into when he plugs into that massive speaker and explodes and goes all over the place. And do you know how much it costs, Dan?
No.
It's estimated at between 80 and 120 pounds.
Wow, that is
and
a
I've
bargain.
just ruined my future by putting that in the show because I was going to go for it, and I know the one in the movie is yellow, but yeah, I could have picked that up for $80, but now loads of people are going to go to the auction because
totally.
Well, when I say go to, it's based in the UK. That's probably a problem, isn't it?
Yeah, is it really?
Yeah.
Or is there some way how to deal with that? I don't know.
Oh, no, I forgot. Sorry. The whole auction thing is you can go there in person in Bath, but you can also do it online. You can watch the live show. You can watch Luke and his colleagues do all their hammer tapping with guitars, and you can live bid with your credit card. So I could do it from the comfort of my own, I don't know, let's say conservatory in between watching Andrew Baena's TikTok channels.
Oh, fantastic! So you don't have to fly there. You have no expenses to find a hotel or anything. You just log on and
zero hotel.
That's
log
amazing.
Well, you log off Andrew's TikTok first. You say, "See you in a minute, Andrew Baena. You can pick me up some other point." And then you go on to guitar-auctions.co.uk and you bid until you realize that you've not bid high enough because someone else has bid, someone from Austria, and then you bid again, and then you walk away with the guitar of your dreams.
Fantastic. You've done that 3 times already, right?
Or not.
I don't know.
I have done that 3 times, and I've now. There's one coming up in December, Dan. December 7th and 8th, and there are at least 3 guitars that I would consider bidding on. One of the ones we mentioned in this show.
Wow, 3. Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
3 more.
So yeah, well then in that case, I think it's almost like 4 weeks from now. We'll probably check that out in early December, and talk about the possible fines and maybe the actual fines and how much money is left because Andy is now clearing out his closet.
Yeah. Closet is being cleared because guitar auctions have an auction in December. So yeah, please go to my Reverb store. Right. Yeah, thank you for sponsoring us, Guitar Auctions. It is a pleasure and a joy to be associated with you. And I highly recommend them. They're good people and they're very trustworthy, and they have a great selection of not just guitars, but also amps, pedals, and memorabilia. Let's ask Andrew Baena what he thinks. Andrew Baena, hello, welcome back.
Hello.
Hey.
Yeah, that looks awesome. We don't have anything like that in Canada. It's just nice that it's online.
Okay.
There's a hole in the market there, my friend.
No, just auction everything
it's
in my
up
room.
to you. Yeah.
I just came up with something like a semi-funny joke. What does Eddie Van Halen and an auctioneer have in common?
I don't know.
I don't know, Dan. What do Eddie Van Halen and an auctioneer have in common?
They both make a living from tapping.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry.
I have to email them now and say, please don't leave as a sponsor. Because, just stick around until December. I promise that I won't let Dan make those. I really enjoyed that joke. I'm kidding you. I really enjoyed it. I loved it. Baena, I've got a question for you that might seem like a joke and might also seem offensive, and I don't want it to be in any way. Okay? So I'm just laying that ground point before we move on.
All right.
Some people say that when you play metalcore and gent that you only use 1 string and that's all you need. Therefore, why do you have 8 strings? I'm not saying that because I understand the whole concept. What I'm asking and what I'm proposing is there a hole in the market for a guitar that has, I don't know, 3 strings, maybe 4, with just the low strings, and therefore, saving yourself money because you don't need an 8-string pickup? And could you get by, or so could some, and I'm not doing you, I mean, generally
No, I get
speaking,
you.
could we get by with like a 4-string guitar? That isn't
I
a
think you
bass.
probably could. There's actually, I don't know if you've seen this, but there's like a PRS that is exactly that. It's the signature from Wes Borland, the guitarist from Limp Bizkit, because they have a song. I can't remember which song it is. I think it's Nookie. Yeah. And it's first of all, it's crazy because that song came out in like 1996 or something, like quite a while ago. But it was probably like one of the first songs ever that had a guitar tuned down to like F sharp, and like nobody really realized at the time. But yeah, he's playing like a weird like 4-string PRS, and yeah, it's tuned down to like a 8-string tuning. I guess you could say. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, you could. I think that we're actually seeing that right now with like the kind of like rise in popularity of baritone guitars, which is a 6-string but just longer scale, so you can tune lower. I get asked that more specifically a lot, and which I completely understand because yeah, I mean, like I'm the same way. Like I usually don't use all 8 of my strings. Like usually it's like the bottom 5, and then like if I'm using the top ones, it's for like ambient notes, if anything. And I think the reason why I started doing that is for 2 reasons. One, again, like when I first saw like After the Burial and stuff, they were using 8-strings, so I was like, oh, the only way to tune low must be to use that, so therefore I want that, just because like I didn't really know anything about gear at the time. But now, knowing all the things I know and like baritone and all that, like if I was just learning how to do stuff now, I probably would have started with the baritone 6 instead. But I'm at this weird point now where like I don't want to stop playing 8-strings because I have so many of them, and also like with Carcosa, like probably like 70% of our music, you probably don't need the top 3 strings. But then, we have those like one songs here or there that do use them. So then I'm like, oh, well, I can't go back to using a baritone. But yeah, I don't know. I actually have a video kind of about this coming out soon, but I don't know. My opinion on it is always kind of just like, I just don't think it really matters one way or another. Like, even if your reason is as simple as like, I think 8-strings look cool, like that's good enough for me. Like I don't know, it's whatever. But I think the rise in popularity of the baritone 6-string is definitely like a direct result of that, because I think there are a lot of people that don't want to play 8-strings, but they do want to play tuned low, and that's like a really good way to be able to do that without having to basically relearn the instrument, right?
What's your scale length when you're saying baritone? Like, what's your preferred scale length then?
Usually like 27 would be like the minimum that I would prefer. And then like up to 30, it depends what it is. Like I have a bunch that are all over the place, but like 30 inch is really good if you want to tune like stupidly low, like C sharp, like 0, like the 9-string tuning. But for like 8-string ish tunings, that's usually like 27 inches, which is good for me. So somewhere between like 27 to 30 is usually my preference.
All right. Okay. Yeah. And do you still remember what your first baritone guitar was?
Oh man, it probably was my 8-string, which I also have in my hallway, and it doesn't work either. But I had like a, I bought like an Ibanez RG A8, which was like at the time the cheapest available 8-string, which was not cheap, especially when I was younger. I think I got it used for like $600, and I was like, oh, this is like all the money I have. But yeah, at the time, again, like I didn't know anything about baritones. I was just like, it has more strings, therefore I can tune lower. But those were also 27 inches, so it was both, I guess. But for like a baritone 6, I don't know what my first one would have been. It probably was like the baritone Squire Jazzmaster.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Which I still have. Yeah, that's probably the first baritone 6 that I have. You have one?
There.
Yeah. There.
Oh, nice, dude. Do you know those are like super valuable now?
Yeah, I got it for €250, and then then found that out like years later, and I would never sell it. It's one of those instruments that is just so good.
It's such a sick guitar. Yeah, I used to have that one, and now I have the black one because I thought the black one looked a little bit better.
Oh, this is ugly. This is so ugly, which makes it so much better.
But those ones are worth even more. The ugly ones.
Yeah, that's Agligla finish, I think is the finish.
Antigua, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was the first baritone 6 that I had.
Sweet.
Well, thanks for indulging me. That was a genuine question about the lower string guitars, and I think there should be more of them because, I'd buy one. I think I'm now tempted to look at that PRS, but that PRS must be crazy expensive.
Oh yeah,
it's not a production model, unfortunately. There's a pretty interesting episode out there. It's called Long Distance Calling, where Paul Reed Smith is calling some of his artists, and just recently they released an episode with Wes Borland, and they were talking about the guitar, and I think they are saying that it's not a production model, but you know, they're kind of bantering back and forth if it could be a production model, because I remember quite vividly, Andy, we had I think that was a pick. I think the Borland guitar was a pick of the week from mine from several months or even years ago when that first got released, because I think as an SE version, make it like $1,500, that would sell like hotcakes.
Well, that
really brings back memories.
It's so niche that it's like it could go one or two ways, right? Like either a ton of people are going to buy it or nobody's going to buy it.
Yeah, but now, especially now with Limp Bizkit and all those kind of new metal bands being on Vogue again, it kind of felt just right to get that guitar. You know, everyone is coming back. Sum 41, Blink 182, Limp Bizkit. You know, they might have some new styles, and you know, maybe incorporated some more, you know, of the current zeitgeist. But at the end of the day, it's still the same old new rock, new metal kind of thingy. And I don't know. I would go for one of these guitars just for the fun of playing Nookie on one of the OG guitars.
Yeah. I would definitely play one.
Yeah. All right. Just making my playlist for tonight.
Baena, we've got another sponsorship slot that we need to get in. We were so engaged with the conversation with you that we sort of, you know, skimmed over some things that we actually have to do. So we're going to ask you just to pop off for a second. And then I really want your opinion on what we're going to talk about now, because Dan, guitars are good, right?
Yes, they are.
But they can be better.
How?
And that is what StewMac promises to do for you. So StewMac is also sponsoring us, and something I found on StewMac's website is highly exciting and something I desperately want to try. It is an acoustic guitar kit. So there are many electric guitar kits you can buy from many different places across the world, but I don't see many acoustic guitar kits. And StewMac has one, and it's currently on sale at $349 American dollars. The StewMac Premium Body Built acoustic guitar kit. It looks, I don't know, it just looks like fun. It looks like a Lego thing. So you've got the body, you've got the neck, you've got the fretboard, you've got the truss rod, you've got the pins and the bridge and the frets themselves. It comes really like a little Lego kit. Does that excite you or entertain you in any way, Dan?
Absolutely. I would be a little bit, you know, I don't know if I could really pull it off and kind of, you know, do glue on thingy, you know, to position the bridge right and, you know, insert the frets. I think an acoustic guitar requires a little bit more craftsmanship compared to like a electric. You know, you can kind of come up with a cigar box and make that a decent guitar, but I've got high respect from those acoustic luthiers. You know, they do incredible things. But boy, that's not expensive, and I think that would be a lot of fun project. Maybe paint the guitar, and
At $349, that's like, if I mess this up, that's not the world's biggest problem, is it? You know, and I don't think I would mess it up, but I think it would take a long time to get it anywhere near what it should be. But I would really like to try that. Maybe that'll happen sometime in the future. But if anyone does want to try that, then of course it's on sale currently at StewMac from their website, and as are many tools, which we will cover over the next couple of weeks. So go and check out StewMac, who we are again very happy to be associated with, and thank you for sponsoring the show.
Yeah.
I wonder what Andrew Baena would do with an acoustic guitar kit. Let's ask him. What would you do with an acoustic guitar kit, Andrew Baena?
I like what Pooh Ninja said. So how much work to redo all the frets and set the bridge for a 27-inch scale? So yeah, he gets more. I think building an acoustic guitar kit would be obviously way harder than an electric guitar kit, which I've done 2 of, and they're fun. Yeah, especially like having to install the frets yourself. That's the thing that would freak me out the most out of everything. Because if you mess,
well, that's
that
where they
up,
get you.
Oh man, yeah.
Well, that's where they get you because it's $349 for the kit, but then you gotta buy the tools.
Yeah, that's it. But I've got stuff from StewMac to make other guitar kits before, and it's always been awesome. But this thing that I always struggle with the most with guitar kits is the finish because I'm so impatient. And like I end up like I paint it or whatever, and I never put enough of the finish layer on it, so it always ends up like really thin or like wearing off after a while. And I'm just too impatient.
Yeah.
But at least you know what color you're going to paint it. I mean, that's one question solved.
Yeah.
That's already. There's no question there.
Yeah. Have you ever tried an acoustic baritone? Is that something that you would even consider
I have
for
one.
Sora? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I have one. They're pretty sweet. I have an acoustic in drop G because why not? And it sounds awesome.
Sweet.
Drop G sounds brilliant.
Yeah.
Drop G for guitar.
Yeah.
I tried playing a baritone acoustic in an acoustic folk band, and just getting my head around which chords I was playing whilst watching the other guitar player playing a standard tuning guitar play a G chord, for example, it screwed with my head completely. I had to not look at the other guy. I was like, don't look at Steve. Don't look at him because you'll mess up and you'll play a G, which isn't a G.
That's why you just tune it an octave lower and then just play the exact same thing.
Yeah, I was about to say. I think like an acoustic baritone guitar might something pretty cool to just fatten the sound, especially in an acoustic setting.
Yeah, just pretty much use it like a bass to some extent.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so you saved the money for the bass player.
Yeah, one less meal at McDonald's after the gig.
Yeah.
Hey, that's what we do. We have our good old 2014 MacBook Pro as our bassist.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to get into that conversation. That sounds like dangerous territory. Baena, what's next for you and Carcosa? What are we going to expect from you in 2023?
What's next for us? We're definitely going to be releasing new music. We just spent all of September writing new stuff. I think we wrote like 7 new songs. I'm not sure if all of them will be good enough to release, but definitely some of them will be. And then we're still working on like potentially booking our first tour. So I'm not sure when that's going to happen, but we're trying really hard to make it happen. So hopefully that will be sometime in 2023 as well. And those are our 2 kind of main goals for next year is get on a tour and just keep releasing music.
Wow.
Sounds like an excellent plan.
Yeah, we wish you the very best. And,
thank you.
Looking forward to hearing that 2014 MacBook rocking itself out.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, guys, make sure to check out Baena's channels. Every single channel is highly recommended. If you want to have a good laugh, go on TikTok. If you want to headbang the hell out of your neck, then go on YouTube or check out his band. It's like stylistically, I was a little bit torn. Is it death metal? Is it like in what kind of
So we call it.
Would you put that?
We call it deathcore, which is
Deathcore,
like
okay.
Metalcore hardcore and death metal combined. I guess you would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm always
So it's like
confused.
there's too
the
many
names.
subgenres. I don't know.
It's
we
it's
go
hard.
with deathcore.
Yeah, it's hard. It's loud. It's screamy.
Yeah. Has
It's
like
good.
a weird logo that you can barely read.
Yeah.
It's a good indicator. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. All right. Well,
Right,
and of
well,
course,
Yeah, that's it. That's the end of the show, everybody. We've got to go and let that man go and make some wonderful TikTok videos so that when I have 5 minutes in the next couple of weeks, I can be purely entertained.
Perfect.
Yeah, man, thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure
Yeah,
talking
thanks
to
for
you and
having me.
catching up. and hopefully we get to see each other in person some point in the near future.
Yeah.
Dan is just going to ask everyone to leave us 5-star reviews and wonder if anyone has done since last week.
I didn't get a notification, but I figured out that it depends on the country you're registered in. So there might have been a nice American or South American guy who left us a rating, but sometimes you don't get notifications. So, anyways, if you enjoyed the show, if you enjoyed Baena being on the channel, if you enjoyed Nick Johnson last week or the guest for next week, just make sure to grab your phone or your wife's phone, your mom's phone, your dad's phone, or your dog's phone and leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes. You can even, leave a little bit of a description and ask a question or make suggestions or whatever. Just 5-star rating. That would be nice. Thank you very much.
Yeah, or 6. Go for 6. See what happens. I am going to go and lie down in a dark room and not do anything for a few hours. How's that sound?
That sounds lovely.
Good. All right. Well, it's been lovely. Cheers, everybody.
Yeah,
bye.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Thanks for everyone chatting. I saw you. I didn't get to talk to you, but thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Guitar Stories Podcast, your #1 show.